What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the SoCaldramtram. I'm Matt.
I'm Caesar.
And today, before we get into this fancy fun bottle, we just want to say, if you're new here, we appreciate you stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out. And if you're a returning viewer, we appreciate you sticking around. Nonetheless, everybody hit that like button. And don't forget to click the little bell. That way you know whenever we drop a brand new video. Caesar, what do we got on the bar today?
Today, we got something from your bar, my friend.
That's right. Today we got mystery meat. What I mean by that is it's like the lunch meal that you get from the cafeteria when you're in grade school. You're not quite sure what it's going to give you. But the reason why I say that is because we got Old Forester Original Batch 1870. Let's get into it.
AKA Beyond Meat.
Old Forester 1870 Original Batch. That's right. If I'm not mistaken, neither one of us have had this particular whiskey.
Nope.
And I'll be honest, I think I've only ever had one Old Forester before this, and I think I've got 3 or 4 Old Forester bottles on the bar. So I think it's time that we crack one of these opens and see what we see. This is actually
what we see.
This is going to be part of their Whiskey Row series, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So, Old Forester is a brand of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey produced by the Brown-Forman Corporation. It has been on the market continuously for longer than any other bourbon, approximately 150 years as of 2020, and was the first bourbon sold exclusively in sealed bottles. It was first bottled and marketed in 1870 by the former pharmaceutical salesman turned bourbon merchant George Garvin Brown, the founder of the Brown-Forman Corporation, whose descendants still manage the company today. During the Prohibition period from 1920 to 1933, Brown-Forman received one of only 6 licenses authorizing lawful production of whiskey for medicinal purposes. That's right, whiskey's medicine, y'all. Old Forester is produced under the supervision of master distiller Chris Morris at the Brown-Forman Distillery in Shelby, Kentucky, and at Old Forester Distilling Co., which is located in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, on the historic Whiskey Row in the original building used from 1882 to 1919, using a mash bill of 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. Its mash bill has been described as pretty standard and rich in rye than most bourbons. 1870 Original Batch echoes George Garvin Brown's original batching process. Back then, Brown batched barrels obtained from 3 distilleries to create a consistent flavor profile. To emulate that process today, they also select barrels from 3 warehouses, each barrel originating from a different day of production with a different entry proof and a different age profile. These 3 expressions of Old Forester are then batched together and minimally filtered to craft Old Forester 1870 Original Batch. Nice. Woo, that's a mouthful. I'm excited. I think that whenever distilleries do like a in the spirit of kind of bottling, it's always something that I'm very curious to try, because I'm always like, is it just a clever marketing? Is it a clever marketing gimmick, or is it something that they're really trying to get after? There was one particular distillery that the Scotch for Dummies did a long time ago. I think it was called the Lost Distillery, and basically their whole gag was like, let's find recipes and materials as best we can of distilleries that have been closed for like 100+ years. So to me, that's something, it's like, it's not just history, but it's whiskey history. So it's like, let's take a taste of history. But again, the sad caveat of that is we ain't got no juice from 1870 to compare it to.
Yep.
If we did, I don't think we'd be on YouTube. I think we'd be a lot more rich. That sweet YouTube money that we ain't making. But what are you kind of expecting before we get too far into this?
So
Because you haven't had an Old Forester.
I have not, and I've seen Old Forester all over the place. And to
They're
be
a
honest,
pretty recognizable brand.
Yeah, since I see it all over the place, I almost think it's like not the best. But It's Brown Foreman, and I'm Brown, and I used to be a foreman. So technically, it should be right up my alley.
Until the pun does not approve. That was lazy punning. Yeah, I don't think, like, I don't associate with, like, the theory that, oh, it's everywhere, so, you know, stick it to the corporate people. Like, I don't do that. Like, Maker's Mark cast strength is fantastic, right? Yeah. And so for me, I even love standard makers. So the fact that it's everywhere doesn't bother me. It just means that it's readily available whiskey that I can plant all over Orange County in friends' houses and always can drink there. And Old Forester, I think, probably falls in that category. We have a mutual friend, Dylan, who this is his jam. Like, Old Forester is just what he loves. I think it was the Old Forester Statesman, because it was a specialty release with the Kingsman Golden Circle movie, and I was like, oh, I want to try that. And I was like, it's just okay. So I'm excited to get into this again because of the fact that they're playing to a little bit of whiskey history with it, and the fact that, you know, Prohibition, I don't know if you know, folks, Prohibition was, you know, you can't make no whiskey. You can't make no anything that has to do with alcohol. So for them to be one of only 6 people to be licensed to make whiskey for medicinal purpose tells me 2 things. 1, that's really cool. And 2, this may not taste great. But no, in all seriousness, I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, that's like, you know, like over here in California, to smoke weed, you need a medicinal license. And at first, it was like for the real people that need medicinal licenses. You have a stack of papers that's your license. But then, eventually, in like 2011, it grew to where anyone, like 1 sheet, 2 sheets of paper, that's it. It's all you need. That's your medicinal. That's your medicinal to be able to have medicinal marijuana. So this being like one of the originals, like one of the original people that were able to get medicinal marijuana, I mean, he says it's bad, but
medicinal whiskey, marijuana.
Medicinal whiskey. He says it's bad, but I think it should be good. I think it should be good.
I didn't say it's bad. I said it could be bad.
I'm expecting good things.
I'm excited. Like I said, anytime you play the history, I can get behind it. What are you getting on the nose?
This is like, it's a little bit punchy.
It's a little ethanol, for sure. This one I think is 90 proof, so what, 45%?
Yeah, it's a little punchy. It's like a nail salon.
Yeah, I can get that nail polish remover note. Medicinal, right? Gotta cleanse the soul. Or, you know, gangrene, or what was the one that, dysentery. Dysentery is the one everybody died of in Oregon Trail.
In Oregon Trail?
You know, clearly during this time we were still using the Oregon Trail. I don't know.
Back when you can shoot the bunnies for food.
I'm trying to get to the, like, past that ethanol.
Yeah, I am too. It's kind of hard because it just, like, every time I try hard, it's like, oh, no.
Like, I can get a little bit of vanilla.
Okay, it's coming down a little bit from the first time we smoked
I can get a little bit of oak. Like that fresh cut wood. Like you go to Home Depot and you go in the back and they're cutting down the wood. Like I get that kind of sawdust element. I'm going for a sip.
Interesting. It doesn't taste as ethanol-y as it smells. It's actually very subtle. The forefront and the middle, it's like, where am I going here? But the finish is actually really good. The finish is like, it sweetens out. It sweetens out pretty well. It almost makes me think like the water is going to do justice to it. But I'm not gonna jinx it right now. But as of right now, that finish is nice and sweet and creamy.
Yeah, you're right. The mid palate is very Robitussin, like that sensation you get from drinking cough syrup, where it's like but the finish, it's like, oh, tell me more. Yeah. Like, I was like, wait a minute, something happened here. Why did we get that in the front?
I think I almost get some banana in the finish.
I get a little banana. Honestly, the weirder note that I'm getting is like peanuts, like boiled peanuts.
Interesting.
Like not like the things you buy at the impulse rack at Target or anything like that, where they're like just the honey roasted and salted. The good ones, like peanuts in the raw, like just like no flavor, just kind of like that nutty element to it. But I am getting that weird banana peel note too.
This full. You filled up the water glass when we're not even going to use what was already in there.
Finish goes for a minute too.
Yeah, it goes pretty good.
I'm gonna take another sip neat before I add any water.
Yeah, I enjoy it normally. The finish is way better than the start. But I think that's also because of air. Like even with the nose, like after we let it air out for like 30 seconds, it made a big difference. That also makes me think that when this starts going down and airs out, I think it's gonna probably be a good bottle.
Yeah, I think this is literally neck pour. Like this is we cracked this bottle for that sexy B-roll footage. So I hadn't opened this at all. So this is first impressions, neck pour, whatever you want to call it. Like this is right out of the bottle. It's not that like, okay, if this is the whole in the spirit of, right, and this was used for medicinal purposes, yeah, sign me up, Doc. I got medicinal needs because this isn't bad. By any stretch of the imagination, I don't really know what what I was expecting. Ebonics.
Hooked on phonics.
But hooking on phonics working for me. But this is really solid. I actually really like it. Did you try it with the water yet? Or is that your first sip?
Yeah, and it's not my thing. That's why I discounted it. It's not my thing at all. Almost like the finish was a good part. And now the finish tastes like plastic. Yeah, tastes like plastic. If you've ever seen Mean Girls, that's what it tastes like. No, I'm just kidding. No, but in all seriousness, it tastes like plastic pepper at the finish with water. But that's just me.
I'm not getting any plastic note, but yeah, the finish did change. The finish is not as sweet as the initial neat pour. Mm-hmm. I don't know. This may be not my favorite whiskey. This is not awful by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know if I'd go reaching for it again. I think this was in the ballpark of about $45 to $55, if I remember correctly. I mean, hell, there's quite a few bottles in that price range that I could think of that I'd be like, yeah, let me grab this one. You know what I mean? Hell, even that Breckenridge that we recently did, you can check that one out up here. I think I might like that a little bit more. And it's not saying that this couldn't be complex. I think this could be a re-review for us in a couple of months when it has gone down a little bit. Because I think air for this one will do some credit for it.
I think so.
But water isn't doing much for it. I'd be curious to see if you water it the hell down like in a cocktail. In fact, I'm just going to do that because then you're going to give you a review, and why not? And plus, we need to empty the water bottle. We can get a little bit more in there to see kind of what happens, right?
He's hoping a negative times a negative equals a positive.
I mean, sometimes it happens. Not very often, but sometimes it happens.
But mathematically, it does.
But it's just okay. It's not an offensive whiskey or anything like that, but it's not one that I'd be running to replace.
Yeah.
If the gimmick is going after history, I can't say for sure, but I could say it's different. Like, it is different, but I don't know if it's different good. Yeah. So for me, I'm going to go... I mean, you can get regular Old Forester for like $20. I'm going to go 2.
Yeah, I was going to do the same
I'm going to go 2 on
thing.
this one because it's not bad, and I'm going to asterisk this one with 2 with the right to change it later. Because
exactly.
I'm excited to see what this does when it gets about a quarter of the way through. This is one where, like, the next time he's over and be like, no, we have to do our sacrificial pour of drinking Old Forester because I want to see what this gets to. So it's a 2 for me. Again, asterisk with the right to change. Where are you going?
I love you, Astrid. Speaking about asterisk, I love Astrid. Anywho, so I 100% agree. It's a 2 for me. And just like I said with the nose, where when I first nosed it and then waited 30 seconds and nosed it again, it was a distinct difference. Like stank. But that's what makes me...
stank on it.
Yeah, like a real stank like difference. But that's what makes me think and feel that as long as the actual bottle gets aired out, like, I think it's gonna be better as it goes. So it's a 2 for me right now, but I am definitely inclined to think that it will probably change as like the more the bottle goes down.
I'm gonna say this. I'm not gonna change my rating because that's not what I'm making the point of. Putting more water in it kind of helped it.
Interesting.
Like, it didn't make it great.
What did it do to
It
the pepper?
mellowed out the pepper for sure. It made it creamier, and it brought out a lot more orange note. Which I was like, okay, now I'm here for this. But I had to add like a 50-50 blend of water to whiskey.
Yeah.
Which, here's what I will say. Wonder how it'll do in a cocktail. With just that little, glass experience that I just did, I wonder how this would hold up in a cocktail.
True, but then again, it's like you'd have to have less in a cocktail in order for it to come out with what you are expecting.
Not necessarily. It just depends on the cocktail that you're making. Because, we're not going to get into cocktails. That's not what we're here for. We're here for a whiskey review. But let us know down in the comments, because it's a 2 all around from both of us. But what do you think of Old Forester? What do you think of the Old Forester 1870 original batch? Do you want to see more of the Whiskey Row series? Spoilers, you're getting another one next week, but that may be the last one. We'll see.
What do you think about the Subaru Forester? I'm just kidding.
Dumb. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We love interacting with you guys there. Until next time, stay safe and drink well. All aboard. Catch you next time. Hey, everybody. Hope you liked that video.
Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications.
And don't forget to subscribe.